Hello, hello, thanks for stopping by. This is Rampart for the NES, originally published by Atari and released in arcades back in 1990. This particular port was produced in 1991 by Jalico, and it's a relatively quick arcade-style game. It's one of those titles where there isn't a story that you have to contend with. There is certainly a little bit of flavor text in the manual trying to set you in the mood, I guess, but things are pretty basic here, and a story isn't really needed. We have an arcade game, and it's sufficient for what it is. But you're basically in the Middle Ages, building and defending a castle. Hopefully, you're going to survive enough rounds to defeat your enemy and win the game. You can play this 1 or 2 players. If you play 2 players, you're going to be going against each other. Otherwise, it's just you versus the computer. So, you're in control of defending a kingdom. There are different difficulty levels, and I would imagine it would be best to start on the lowest if you're new to this one. You start out on a map, and the map is basically a topography that has a mix of land and sea. As you play, I think you're going to realize it's never going to be a good enough shape of land for you, but it's what we got. When the game starts, you have to select your starting castle. The level gives you a few options, and when you select the one you want, it's going to surround your castle with a basic wall. Once it's built, you get to place cannons. Cannons can go anywhere inside your castle area. Once you're done placing your cannons, or the timer runs out, I suppose, the level is going to start. And a level is basically divided into 2 phases: the fighting part and the repair part. When the fighting starts, ships are going to appear in the sea. Those ships sail towards you, and they're here to destroy your castle. They're going to get closer, and they're going to launch cannonballs, aiming to destroy your walls. At the same time, you can launch your cannonballs towards the ships. There's no limit to your ammunition, but your volume of shots is dependent on how many cannons you have. But it's free ammunition, so let it fly. The more ships you sink, the more points you're going to get, and obviously it's going to take a vessel off the board, which stops your walls from being so easily destroyed. If you destroy all the ships, or you run out of time, the fighting part of the level is going to end. Best case scenario is you destroy all the ships. If you don't, they're actually going to probably come ashore, and then you're going to have to fight with these people that are manually destroying your castle walls. It's going to be difficult, and it sort of splits your focus. Anyway, once the fighting part is over, you go to the building or repair phase. Now you're on a timer, and I promise you, the timer is never going to feel like it's long enough. You're always going to want it to be longer. Your castle needs to be completely enclosed. If it's not a complete wall surrounding your castle, you're going to lose it and any cannons that you have inside that barrier. When your area is properly enclosed, it's going to fill in with a darker color in the center to indicate that that's your secure area. You want that. So this is you racing against the timer, trying to repair your walls to make sure you have an enclosed keep. To repair your walls, you now have to basically play, kind of, Tetris. The system is going to give you pieces of walls, and they're in different shapes. This is for you to place to patch your holes. They're never going to be the pieces you want, I swear. You're going to have to turn the pieces in different directions just to make do. But you can't switch out the piece for another one. You just have to place it. So it's you with this puzzle game, and it's you racing to get as many pieces in place as you can, with the hopes of securing your castle. Usually at this stage, my first action is to make sure I can continue playing, so I'm going to try to secure just my first castle. But there are other potential keeps in the area, and if you have enough time and you can surround those other areas with a wall by either extending your existing walls or creating a new one, you get more castle real estate. Of course, this is more area to repair and defend, but it gives you more floor space, and you get more points. And with more space and points, you can get more cannons and just make your offense that much better. When the timer ends after you've repaired your walls, if you have space still under your control, you get to place cannons. You want to put them in any place that you can hold them, that obviously you control. Hopefully you're going to get some extra cannons, because it'll make the next level easier. When the next level starts, now you can put more cannonballs in the air, which is super useful, considering those ships are all going to be moving at different speeds, and of course, there are more ships continually arriving. So the more stuff you can put in the air to destroy your enemies, the better it's going to be for you. When things get really hectic, and they actually land on shore, that's when things usually go south for me. They manually start destroying my walls, and I tend to struggle to keep up. The crews that manually destroy my walls, they leave a lot of trouble behind. You can't build directly on top of rubble, so it makes it harder to get good wall placement. like I said, this is an arcade-style game, which means time is super important, and this one hurries you along very well. The graphics here, they're nothing amazing, but they work perfectly well for an NES game, and I think it's pretty obvious to understand what you're looking for once you play this once or twice, and there's nothing visually confusing on screen that I think causes any real grief. It's pretty easy to understand what's going on. It is also a one-screen type of an affair, so you don't have to worry about scrolling or other parts of a map. Although, there are going to be plenty of objects moving on screen at one time that you do have to worry about. I think Rampart is a fairly solid arcade port, and it handles as well as I'd hope. I suppose it's not one of those games I'd want to sit down and play for 4 or 5 hours in a row, but also, you know, it's one of those games that I would find myself wanting to sit down and play for like a half hour or so. You get in the mood, you want to play something that's relatively simple, let you zone out just a little bit and do a little bit of puzzling. That's what this game is, for sure. I think it's a clever mix of strategy and puzzle building, and in its way, it's kind of unique. Really, there aren't other games that work this way that I'm aware of, and this one was popular enough to get a whole list of ports to other consoles of the era. I used to play this one, I think, on the Atari Lynx and the Game Boy Advance. I had a dual card for the Game Boy Advance. I think it had this, and I guess it had Gauntlet as well. I'm going to have to see if I still have that one around somewhere. It was pretty great. So in Rampart, I think we have a really solid title here. We get plenty of arcade games from that era that didn't quite match up in terms of gameplay to where they started, but I think this one matches up just fine. It's solid all around. Well, that's all I have today for Rampart for the NES. Thanks for stopping by for a look, and I hope to catch you on another video.